provided by Thomas Elgire and Frennis, based on the most relevant posts on LinkedIn about next-gen vehicle intelligence and CW 526. Frennis is a B2B market research company working with enterprises to optimize their campaigns with account and executive insights far beyond AI. Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission, as always, is to cut through the noise, give you the most impactful insights. Today, we're diving into the top next-gen vehicle intelligence trends that were really making waves across LinkedIn these last couple of weeks, calendar weeks 25 and 26.
Yeah, in these past 2 weeks, they've really solidified what many of us have been seeing, a big shift in mobility.
A seismic shift, almost.
You could say that. We're seeing software-defined architectures and autonomous mobility emerge as, well, kind of the twin North Stars guiding where things are headed. And what's really compelling is this convergence on open standards, these bold partnerships on platforms getting richer and richer with AI. It's all geared towards speeding up innovation and ultimately making roads safer for everyone.
Okay, so let's talk about that shift. Let's unpack this first major theme. Software-defined vehicles, SDVs, and their architectures. It really does feel like the brain of the car is becoming the main event, doesn't it?
That's a great way to put it. And what's fascinating is this strong move towards collaboration, especially in Europe.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, people like Kevin Karger and Dr. Felix Lusch highlighted major European OEMs and Tier 1s actually agreeing on an open and, importantly, certifiable software stack.
Certifiable, okay.
Exactly. And this isn't just, for efficiency's sake. It's strategic. It's about cutting duplication, speeding up these SDV rollouts.
Sure.
And also, as Michael Hulshuis pointed out, it's about safeguarding European digital sovereignty, making sure they control their own tech future, not just relying on others.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's not just happening in theory or in boardrooms, is it? Steph Balkabiak mentioned Le Mans 2025, really spotlighted SDV tech right there on the track.
Yeah, exactly. That's where it gets real. Motorsport is such an intense proving ground. It pushes these technologies to their absolute limits. You learn things you just wouldn't in a lab.
Right. Practical insights from extreme conditions.
Precisely. And to make this whole shift work, thought leaders like Tiago Rodriguez are pushing these bento box modular designs.
Bento box. I like that. Explain that a bit.
It really helps picture it, doesn't it? The idea is decoupling software from the hardware. So you have these independent, sort of interchangeable software modules, like building blocks. It lowers integration risk, cuts costs, makes the whole system way more flexible.
Okay, the bento box makes it click. So how does that modularity actually change the car itself? For the driver, what's the difference?
Well, Manish Kumar outlined how software is turning cars into true SDVs. We're moving away from, maybe 150 separate ECUs, these little electronic control units scattered everywhere.
There are tons of them.
To a much more centralized integrated network. Think fewer, more powerful brains. This leads to smarter design, lower costs, definitely, and a much more personalized driving experience.
Personalized how? Like remembering my seat position?
Way beyond that. Imagine your car learning your route preferences based on time of day, maybe even suggesting a less stressful route if it, infers you've had a long day, or preheating the steering wheel because it predicts cold weather.
Wow.
That's the kind of intelligence, delivered through adaptive AI and constant over-the-air updates, OTA updates.
That sounds like a totally different relationship with the vehicle. And I guess that opens up new doors for the manufacturers too, right? After the car's sold.
Oh, absolutely. New revenue streams. Think data monetization, subscription services for premium features. But underpinning all of this, and this is crucial, are open standards for data. Marcus Redstedt detailed this.
Open standards. Why are they so critical?
Because they let different systems talk to each other reliably. Initiatives like Covis's VSS, that's Vehicle Signal Specification, it's like creating a common language for car data, so different brands can understand each other's signals.
A Rosetta Stone for cars?
Kinda, yeah. And then you have IFEX, the International Functional Exchange Standard, which makes sure all this data sharing follows privacy rules like GDPR. You've got Mercedes-Benz, Volvo, BMW, Stellantis already using these to ensure data makes sense across platforms, and it's handled compliantly.
So it's not just software first, it's also standards first and collaboration first. Rahul Chandrasekhar called it moving from fragmented functions to unified digital domains, aiming for a symphony of software, hardware systems.
A symphony, I like that. And orchestrating that symphony is, well, it's a huge challenge, but the benefits are becoming really clear.
Any good examples of this in action?
Definitely. Look at Rivian's new zonal architecture. Matt Damasceno highlighted this for their Gen 2 vehicles. Instead of ECUs everywhere, they group computing by physical zones in the car.
Zonal, like different sections.
Exactly. Think front zone, central zone, rear zone. They slashed the ECU count from 17 down to just 7.
17 down to 7, that's huge.
It is. And it eliminated miles of wiring, made the vehicles lighter, cut material costs significantly. It's really no surprise VW partnered with them. This feels like a blueprint for future SDVs, showing how much more efficient this approach is.
It really is clear, like Plato Pathurst noted, this isn't just talk anymore. It's being implemented, and it's fundamentally changing things right now.
And, connecting this to the bigger picture, the progress we're seeing in autonomous driving and mobility is just remarkable. And we're seeing different strategies emerge globally.
Absolutely. It's fascinating. On one side, you've got Tesla and their very public push for vision-only robotaxis. Hans Vevry described it as really challenging the LiDAR-heavy approaches, betting big on AI and massive amounts of data.
Brute force AI. Almost.
Yeah, and we saw those videos, right? Lucio Rivero and Swapnil Bhatnagar shared them. A Tesla literally delivering itself to a new owner, no driver. That's quite a statement.
It definitely grabs attention. Then on the other side, you have the Volkswagen Group. They're working with partners like MOIA on their autonomous ID, Buzz AD.
Oh, electric van, right?
That's the one. For mobility services, Michael Persky, Marina Bachmann, Christian Senger, we're all talking about this. It's positioned as Europe's first Level 4 production vehicle, already in pilot.
Level 4 means it can handle most situations itself.
In defined areas, yes. They're aiming for launches in Hamburg and Los Angeles by 2026. And it's packed with sensors, a sophisticated suite from Mobileye. It shows a really robust, perhaps more cautious path to getting these services mainstream. More of a turnkey solution for fleet operators.
Interesting contrast. And it's not just the big cities getting this tech, is it?
No, and that's important. Nicholas Maritzko highlighted some really interesting pilots in rural Europe. They're exploring collaborative models to bring autonomous mobility to places that are often underserved.
How would that work?
He even suggested something like an Airbus-style coalition for rural mobility. The idea is standardized platforms, shared specs, to make it viable in areas where a single company might struggle to justify the investment.
An Airbus for rural robo-shuttles. That's a concept.
It aims to make it accessible beyond just the dense urban cores. And regulation is adapting, too. Daniel Abreu Marquez showed that Singapore is planning autonomous shuttle services for Punggol starting late 2025.
Singapore's usually ahead of the curve.
They are. It's a phased rollout, really focused on safety, public acceptance, and they're talking to all the major global AV players. It shows a strategic approach to building that ecosystem.
So we're seeing testing and deployment in all sorts of environments. Alex Kendall and Michael Dempsey reported on Wave's self-driving car managing a drive from San Francisco to New York City for a demo.
Right, I saw that.
And the kicker, no prior training data specifically for New York. It just drove, navigated the traffic.
That's genuinely a huge leap. It really demonstrates the potential of these more generalized AI models to adapt to completely new unseen situations.
So what does this mean for Europe specifically?
Well, it raises questions. Natalie Tier discussed the challenges of integrating AVs into public transport there. She urged moving past sort of ideological debates and focusing on viable business cases.
Because the money's there.
Potentially billions globally by 2030, according to projections. So the focus needs to be on, meaning the foundational software that every car needs, but that doesn't really give one company a competitive edge over another. By sharing the development of this base layer, they all free up resources to innovate on the stuff that does differentiate them. The cool features, the unique experiences.
Ah, okay. Share the basics, compete on the advanced stuff. Smart.
It's seen as a really big step for European digital cooperation. And, again, for strategic autonomy.
And we're seeing collaborations across different industries, too, aren't we?
Definitely. Dimitrio Yelo and Bruno Abioyu shared news about Electrobit partnering with Foxconn on something called EVOS.
Foxconn, the electronics giant.
Exactly. They're blending that consumer electronics speed and approach with automotive rigor, aiming for a new end-to-end EV platform. It's about marrying that rapid iteration cycle with the safety demands of cars.
That sounds like a powerful combination.
It could be. Or look at T-Tech Auto linking up with NXP, which Ayulia Jushert, BADAC, highlighted. High-integrity middleware meeting automotive-grade silicon for scalable controllers.
So software specialists meeting hardware specialists.
Precisely. And Ole Gravenhorst showed how Flexus Mobility, which is backed by Volvo Trucks and the shipping giant CMA-CGM, illustrates capital flowing between industries into urban mobility solutions. It shows how broad the investment and interest really is.
It really is about leveraging specialized expertise from all corners. And of course, underpinning all of this, AI and data. Ken Kwong shared insights into Tesla's Cortex-1 supercomputer.
Yeah, the scale of data processing is immense.
Petabyte-scale fleet data. How essential is that kind of firepower?
It's absolutely central. You need that scale to power the AI for perception, for those continuous over-the-air improvements. It's how the systems learn and get better constantly.
It feeds the learning loop.
Exactly. And Ramki Krishna, referencing Dr. Jim Walsh, emphasized that continuous AI-driven validation is becoming the new standard for software quality assurance. It's pushing agile development, focusing on quality, not just trying to shave costs.
And what about the sensors themselves?
Right. Heman Gogri brought up sensor fusion, combining radar, camera, lidar, using the strengths of each to get a more robust picture of the world around the vehicle. Especially critical in bad weather, like fog or heavy rain, where one sensor type might struggle.
Okay, so with all this rapid innovation, this complexity, it brings us to safety and regulation. How is the industry tackling that? Because building public trust is paramount, isn't it?
It's absolutely crucial, and it's definitely top of mind. It's a very dynamic area right now. Sasha Cutters outlined how regulators are refining the definitions of active versus passive safety for type approval.
Active versus passive.
Active safety tries to prevent the accident, think automatic emergency braking, lane keeping assist. With autonomous driving, new requirements are emerging there. Passive safety protects you during an accident, airbags, crumple zones. That remains vital, especially while we have mixed traffic with human drivers.
So regulations need to adapt to the new tech.
Exactly. And there's a big push for a more global, collaborative approach. Mario Trapp made strong calls for a global safety accelerator ecosystem.
A safety accelerator. What does that mean?
His argument is, we need to harmonize how we validate these systems, speed up the time to market for safe autonomous features. He envisions a collaborative platform to share safety concepts, share evidence, so we don't have yesterday's safety methods holding back tomorrow's technology.
So sharing best practices and data to move faster but safely.
Precisely. Build common ground, maybe even a peer review system for safety solutions. Avoid reinventing the wheel in every country or company. Sandeep Corey also listed key regulatory needs, things like compliance with ISO 26262 for functional safety.
Okay, that's making sure the software doesn't fail dangerously.
Right. And ISO C 21434 for cybersecurity. Building in defenses against hacking from the start. Plus data privacy rules like GDPR. It's complex, but the direction is clear towards harmonized standards for safety and responsible deployment.
It sounds like a massive undertaking, but essential. Well, if you enjoyed this deep dive, remember new deep dives drop every 2 weeks. You can also check out our other editions covering electrification and battery technology, future mobility and market evolution, and commercial fleet insights.
Yeah, the pace of change in next-gen vehicle intelligence, just looking at these LinkedIn insights, it's undeniable. It really makes you wonder, what's the next major hurdle? Is it scaling these technologies, making them truly affordable for the mass market? Or is it navigating the societal acceptance and the regulatory frameworks needed for widespread adoption?
Something for you to ponder, definitely.
For sure.
Thank you for joining us on the deep dive. We hope this gave you a useful shortcut to staying well informed. Remember to stay curious, and we'll catch you next time.